All right, let's keep chatting. United States Women's National Team 2022 year in review. The team qualified for the 2023 World Cup emphatically with a win in the CONCACAF W Championship. And then there was a World Cup draw, and it kind of really put things into perspective. Drawn into Group E, USA is with Vietnam, the Netherlands, and they await the winner of a Group A Interconfederation playoff, either Portugal, Thailand, or Cameroon, which will be the United States.
Yep. What a way to end the year for the U.S. with this World Cup draw. It was a spectacle, right? About who was going to be drawn. The fact that the U.S. is not in a group with Sweden is something that was interesting. And also Vietnam, a team that the United States has never played before. They'll also be in this group. But now that the United States has their competition for the World Cup and the group stages, it was like, okay, now we can continue to prep and to understand what we're going to do, because now we know who we're going to face against. It was also announced that all of the US's World Cup group stage matches would be played in New Zealand, perhaps giving them a bit more of an advantage compared to some of the other groups that will be traveling back and forth across Australia and between New Zealand and Australia. So a lot of answers given to the US and to fans with this draw, with who they're going to play, but we won't find out who that third team is between Portugal, Thailand, and Cameroon until the Intercontinental play-in tournament that happens in February. So just a few more weeks to find out about that. But honestly, once you know these teams, the preparation doesn't change that much, right? I mean, for the United States with what they're going to do, they're going to go out there and play their own game. Maybe defensively, their tactics will shift a little bit, but not as much, right? It's just play our game, understand the players on the pitch, the rhythm that they're getting into, have a little bit of continuity with the lineups that we're seeing from Vlatko Andonovski, and reintroduce those players in 2023 that have been out for most of 2022.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about. It's just like, I feel like every episode that we do and every week that goes by, we're just getting closer and closer and closer to the big one, right? We'll just refer to it. And it's cool that within 2022, yes, in between the international windows and friendlies, in between the international tournaments, whether it's a She Believes Cup or a CONCACAF W Championship, the players who were in and out of these international windows, of these camps, of these fixtures, there were a ton of milestones that were met along the way. And I think that kind of stuff is always celebrated. You know, I think when we're talking about the United States Women's National Team, they're a program that have been around, a long time, and B, have a lot of resources, and they're able to keep track of all those really great things like milestones and career caps or goals, etc. Alex Morgan earning her 200th career cap, 10 of them just in this year alone, and just the 13th player in U.S. Women's National Team history to get 200 caps. So, you know, this is like a number that might not be attainable, you know, in depending on the player and depending on the program. And it's wild to me, in a year like 2022, you have Alex Morgan reaching that milestone, while somebody like a Sophia Smith, you know, the player who's kind of going to be the face in the future of this team, went on this incredible run in 2022 as well.
Yeah, Sophia Smith had a breakout year. Heading into this year, she only had one international goal. She ends 2022 with 11 international goals, the most of any U.S. women's national team player this year. And she also became the youngest player to lead the United States in scoring in one calendar year since Mia Hamm did that at age 21 in 1993. It was a breakout year for Sophia Smith. It was incredibly fun to watch her, and also partnered alongside Alex Morgan, a player that you just mentioned got her 200th cap. I think that we saw that really come alive, and we saw the consistency between Sophia Smith, Alex Morgan, and Mallory Pugh in that front three lineup for Vlatko Andonovski. But this was a really big year for Sophia Smith. She then does so many things domestically, winning MVP of the league, of the championship game, lifting the NWSL trophy. It was a breakout year for the young superstar in Smith, and I just can't wait for that to carry on over into 2023. But there was also some big goalkeeper news this year, right? We saw the consistency of goalkeeper Alyssa Nair between the sticks for the United States. She hit her 50th career shutout this year, 5 shutouts in this calendar year because she split time a lot with Casey Murphy. That's another goalkeeper we saw get really consistent time this year. We also saw the likes of Aubrey Kingsbury play 1 game, get called up into a few camps, but it was Alyssa Nair who solidified herself with 50 career shutouts. Holy cow. Yeah. What an accomplishment for that type of player, especially when you're going up against some really big and tough competition throughout CONCACAF W Championship. 5 shutouts for this team throughout the entire tournament. And also goalkeeper Ashlyn Harris, longtime U.S. Women's National Team goalkeeper. She announced her retirement this year. She won the World Cup in 2015, 2019, and she finished her national team debut. Her final game, was in January of 2020 with the U.S., but she announced her retirement from the game as U.S. Soccer says goodbye and see you soon to another great between the sticks and goal.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're mentioning 2 prolific goalkeepers who have had long histories in this program. I mean, Alyssa Nair, I was delighted by her 2022. We're talking about a player who picked up a significant injury during the Tokyo Olympic Games, was out for the remainder of that 2021 calendar year, and started to get, reintegrated back onto the pitch, and for somehow, some kind of way, looked stronger and faster on the pitch and in her position. Really looking at Alyssa Nair and sort of seeing, like, we always know she's been very someone who's had a very cool, calm, and collected presence in between the pipes. But I don't know if people would say that something like coming off the line or quickness off the line was one of her strongest attributes, and I think she completely smashed that this year. So not only is she that very kind of cool-headed and very disciplined and organized distributor in the pipes, but now she's looking really, really good in a lot of other areas as well. And I love the note on Harris and sort of how she's riding out to other areas of her career. And I think it's important to know that to close out this year, Adriana France got called back into these camps. So that goalkeeper pool is forever rotating. But one thing that we can point to and say is consistent in it is that Alyssa Nair is the number 1. But let's keep talking about defense a little bit, because we love that here, right? On attacking third, Alana Cook, defender who led the team in minutes played, starting all 15 matches that she played, and totaling 1,1286 minutes. Look, we talked about in the first half of this episode how injuries really, really came in and played a role in this team. And Danovsky saying when they put together the roster for CONCACAF that injuries and maternity were something that shaped that. But Alana Cook, when we're talking about a constant or a constant, she was one of those figures in that position to sort of always be there for this team.
Yeah, leading the team in minutes. That's insane to have over 1,200 minutes played in one calendar year. And that's just with the national team. That doesn't include all the play that Alana Cook had with OL Reign in the NWSL. We also saw the return of Crystal Dunn. What a huge milestone for this player and for women, right? I'm just going to go out there and say that because Crystal Dunn was out for maternity leave for a majority of 2022. And she ends up returning to the pitch following the birth of her son, Marcel. Marcel was born in May. And then in September, Dunn was back training with the United States in their training camp. And by November, she had made the full training roster and she was available for selection. We got to see Dunn playing again, by the end of November for 3 caps in 2022 after she gave birth in May. That was fantastic to see, right? Coming back into the swing of things, getting some time in those matches, playing in the left outside back role, giving Emily Fox a little bit of a breather in some of those matches. But this was a milestone that I was so pleased and happy to see. And we knew that Crystal Dunn was fighting for this. She wanted to get back on the pitch. She continued training with her club team, Portland Thorns, throughout the majority of 2022, pretty much up until she gave birth. And then as soon as doctors would allow her back on the pitch after she gave birth. And the fact that she worked so hard, was fighting, was listening to her body, was working with incredible doctors to be able to play in an international friendly by the end of the year of 2022. I mean, she's a superwoman, super mom. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, I think, one of the stories that kind of came towards the latter end of 2022 that everybody was just like, if no one else, of course, Crystal Dunn.
Yeah.
Right. It was quite a performance to witness. The United States, racking up other numbers in other areas, whether it's goals scored or attendance records, right? We talked a little bit about the October window and how that took place overseas. United States versus England at Wembley had record attendance, 76,893 in the turnstiles. To take a look at those two teams go head to head, it is the highest attended friendly in U.S. women's national team history. Tickets selling out, in about a day or so. Exciting moment for the team this year.
Huge for them to play at Wembley. The team in 2022 as a whole, they scored 56 goals this year, 56 celebrations on the pitch that we got to watch. And one thing that really stuck out to me in these stats is that through 14 games, 26 of the goals were scored by players under the age of 24. So not only were young players being called into the rosters and getting caps and getting minutes, but they were scoring goals and they were contributing. We saw it along the back line, right, with Girma and really stepping into that role. And Alana Cook, another young one, Emily Fox along that back line as well. But up the pitch, they were scoring these goals. So 56 of them, 26 goals scored by players under the age of 24. So the future is very bright for this team and these players.
The number 1 ranked team amongst the FIFA rankings.